5 News Tonight.
On 5 News Tonight, the death of a TV favourite, a nurse accused of murdering patients, and has the sun finally set on page 3? Filming is cancelled on Coronation Street following the death of Anne Kirkbride.
She was always full of good humour, full of love, with no bitterness and no resentment. She was just a very, very beautiful soul.
Accused of murder, a court hears claims this nurse poisoned patients at a Stockport hospital. And it seems the Sun is ditching page 3. I'll be talking to a former model and a woman who's been campaigning for it to happen. Good evening, I'm Matt Barbett. Welcome to 5 News Tonight. For decades, hers was one of the most recognisable faces on one of the country's biggest television shows. And today, the rest of the cast of Coronation Street have been remembering Anne Kirkbride, who famously played Deirdre Barlow. They said she was an impeccable performer and a loving and vibrant woman. Filming on Coronation Street was cancelled today as they come to terms with Anne's death after a short illness. Minnie Stevenson has more.
We found love in a hopeless place. I like your potpourri in the bathroom. You don't see much potpourri nowadays.
You knew her as Deirdre Barlow for more than 40 years. With those iconic glasses and distinct husky voice, actress Anne Kirkbride brought to life one of Coronation Street's longest-serving and most loved characters. A life remembered today at the very heart of Coronation Street, Manchester's Granada Studios, where fans have come to pay tribute. Among the messages, you have been a big part of our lives.
This is for you.
On screen, she shared that life, through ups and downs, even divorce with husband Ken Barlow. Today, actor William Roach said he felt the loss so personally.
It's the whole thought that she isn't around anymore is the hard thing. And coming in here, we've had rows, we've shouted, we've argued, we've been violent with each other, we've been cross with each other, but we've laughed. And oh boy, have we laughed.
This morning, the cast had turned up to work as normal, determined to carry on for the sake of their friend. But many broke down after it all became too much. Filming was cancelled. The set today, a backdrop for so many of Deirdre's storylines, fell silent. It was here at number 1 on the cobbled streets of Coronation Street that Anne Kirkbride played Deirdre with such passion for over 4 decades, steering her through a lifetime of dramas and yet every step of the way managing to charm audiences.
What do you think, Deirdre?
I think it's about time somebody bought me another drink.
Oh, that's what I like.
Joining the soap in 1972, as a then teenage Deirdre Hunt, the actress was only meant to play a bit part, but became so popular she never left the street. Offset, she grew up with the cast. Her friend Sue Nichols, Audrey Roberts to Me and You, had these words today.
I loved Deirdre, but I loved Annie best. And it's Annie I want to talk about and say how I miss her, because she was a one-off. Believe me, she was a one-off. There will never be another Annie.
Guilty on all 8 counts.
And if you ever need proof of just how much the nation loved Anne Kirkbride's character, it came in 1998. After a storyline which saw her wrongly imprisoned for fraud, there was a real-life campaign and petition to free Deirdre.
I didn't do any of it.
Then Prime Minister Tony Blair even made a comment about her sentence in Parliament. The show's exec producer said Anne Kirkbride brought Deirdre into people's hearts.
I mean, it was a national event when Deirdre was sent to prison and the outcry. I think it says an awful lot. It was a great story, but just about the importance and the affection that character was held in by the viewing public and the nation at large.
And this would be the last time she would appear on the show.
Jelly shouldn't run, it should wobble.
Taking a 3-month break from the show, the actress had planned to return to work, but never did. Today, the Coronation Street cast mourn the loss of not only a fellow actor and friend, but they say a part of their family.
Minnie is on the Coronation Street set in Salford this evening, and Minnie, clearly an emotional day for everyone involved in the programme.
Matt, that's right, you join me from the unusually quiet cobbled streets, where it's clear to say she not only had a huge impact playing Deirdre Barlow, but I've spent the day here speaking to people who genuinely knew her, who told me the street will simply never be the same again. Among the tributes, a woman who had an amazing impact on their lives. She had a great presence, somebody who would always make them laugh, and it's been confirmed that tomorrow night at the National TV Awards they will honour her as a true Coronation Street legend.
Minnie on Coronation Street, thanks very much indeed. Well, in a moment we'll get the thoughts of the Sunday Mirror's TV critic Kevin O'Sullivan. But first, let's see a bit more of the interview William Roach gave today. He began by describing what it was like on the set this morning.
Very tough, really, really tough. Actually, just walking in here now, it's very difficult because all of us wanted to carry on filming today. That's a natural feel for Annie's sake and all our sakes, but when it came to it, we couldn't do it. She's such a... Annie was a vibrant presence. When she was there, you knew she was there. And she was always loving, always happy. There was never a laugh far away. Even in the midst of shouting and crying, there would be a laugh. That's what she was about, Annie. She loved life. As an actress, she was impeccable. Her comedy timing was brilliant. With drama, she could go deep into the drama. We all know she could cry. She was good at that. And I think she was probably underestimated as an actress, and to have her as a partner for the last 40 years, I couldn't have been more blessed. Very down to earth, very practical, very funny, and very lovable. She was full of love, full of love. It's going to be bleak. It's going to be very bleak. But her presence is so... It's here, you can feel her, and we'll always feel her presence. It's going to be difficult in one sense, but also very beautiful in another, because I know she passed really beautifully, given the things that she had. I know she's in a very beautiful and happy place. She loved her angels, and the angels will have taken her, and she'll be surrounded by them and be very, very happy.
Coronation Street's William Roach there, remembering Anne Kirkbride. And Kevin, I know you've met a lot of the cast members of Coronation Street over the years, Bill Roach as well, I'm sure. Had you ever interviewed her or met her?
I never met Anne, never interviewed her, and that really is one of the hallmarks of her life. She led a very quiet life, which contributed to the great success of Deirdre Barlow as a character, or Deirdre with the 4 different surnames. Always remember she had 4 husbands and 13 affairs in 40 eventful years. You cannot create these characters and make them live if you're always in the paper for, you know, having fights or being drunk in public, you know, all that showbiz rubbish that we see so often in the popular press. She never really did that. She lived under the radar and brought this character to life. And, you know, today millions of people are obviously mourning the death of Anne Kirkbride, but let's be honest, we're also mourning the death of Deirdre Barlow. This is a woman she brought to life. People think they know her. And having been in the soap for 40 years, and the soap itself has been going for so much longer, this is a natural part of life in soaps, isn't it? Yeah, in a way, you know, I mean, the extraordinary thing about Coronation Street, she was there for 42 years. She's only the 4th longest serving character, but she was a colossus in the soap world, and she was at the centre of some of the greatest storylines of all time, and I do not think it's an exaggeration to say she's the best character ever in soaps. There she is with Mike Baldwin, who she famously had an affair with. I mean, I remember that story, and Julie Goodyear there as well, Bet from the Rover's Return, but the famous story is really the Weatherfield one. Well, even the Prime Minister got involved in that one. I mean, the love triangle with Mike Baldwin and Ken Barlow kept us entertained for years. For 20 years that went on, always entertaining. But the most famous storyline that Deirdre ever had will, of course, be Free the Weatherfield one, where the Prime Minister, I could say famously got involved, but you should really say notoriously got involved and told the then Home Secretary, Jack Straw, to sort out this tremendous injustice. But it was on the front pages of tabloids like your own. I mean, it was also on the front page of the broadsheets. You know? So the thing about Anne was she was a great actress. She had great comic timing, great at the drama, brilliant crier, as Bill Roach just said, the world-class weeper, the best sobber television has ever seen. So she could do the lot. You could not be such a successful actress in soaps unless you had all these abilities. Those
famous glasses as well.
Yeah, the massive glasses.
One final word, Kevin, and Minnie alluded to it at the end of her piece there from Coronation Street. How are the National TV Awards going to remember her tomorrow night, do you think?
Well, they're obviously going to do a full and well-deserved tribute. I also suspect that if it wasn't going to win anyway, that last-minute votes for Coronation Street will make Corrie the top soap of the year.
Kevin, thanks very much indeed. To the day's other news now, and a nurse has gone on trial accused of murdering 3 patients and poisoning others. Prosecutors say Victorino Chua contaminated saline bags at random. In all, 21 patients at Stockport's Stepping Hill Hospital became ill. A woman and 2 elderly men died. Peter Lane was in court today.
Filmed here before his trial, Victorino Chua is the nurse accused of poisoning patients, picking them at random in what the prosecution described as a lottery. It was a crime that killed 3 and left many more ill. Tracy Arden was the youngest to die, just 44. Arnold Lancaster was 71, Derek Weaver 83. They'd all been patients at Stepping Hill Hospital in Stockport, where Victorino Chua had worked for 2 years. The jury heard that on wards A1 and A3, some bags and ampules of saline were deliberately contaminated with insulin, creating ticking time bombs, because given to the wrong patients, insulin could be fatal.
The prosecution put it like this. They said in the summer of 2011, a poisoner was at work here inside Stepping Hill Hospital. They claimed that poisoner was Victorino Chua, and they told the jury he had the opportunity to contaminate medical products and leave them for unsuspecting colleagues to give to unsuspecting patients.
The court heard that pieces of a forensic jigsaw led to Victorino Chua. The prosecution said, as the investigation intensified, the common denominator, the defendant, was shown in sharper and sharper relief. They added that a motive was unclear, saying, only the person responsible could ever know why they would embark on such conduct. Arriving at court for the start of this trial, Victorino Chua pleaded not guilty to all 36 charges, which relate to 21 patients. The prosecution said it was their job to prove he was responsible for what happened at Stepping Hill, but not to say what caused him to turn from a man who dedicated his life to caring for others to harming them. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Scottish Power has become the 3rd major energy company to cut its gas prices. From February the 20th, just over 1 million customers on standard tariffs will have their bills reduced by 4.8%. British Gas and E.ON have already announced price cuts following a huge drop in the cost of wholesale gas. A woman has told the court how Gary Glitter sexually abused her as a schoolgirl. The woman says she was left feeling dirty and ashamed after the incident in 1975. Glitter, who's standing trial under his real name, Paul Gadd, denies a series of charges against 3 girls. MPs have called for urgent action to save Britain's dairy industry. The number of dairy farmers has halved in the past decade, largely because of falling prices in supermarkets. A group of MPs has called for new powers to help protect farmers. A British jihadist has become the first person to be convicted of terror charges after returning from Syria. Imran Khawaja tried to evade capture by falsely announcing his own death. His conviction can only now be reported after a judge lifted an order. Julian Drucker is with me. So tell us, what else do we know about this?
Well, Imran Khawaja wanted to fight in Syria, so last year he joined other jihadists out there. Police say he was involved in serious violence out there. We're going to see a picture of him. He's on the left of this shot, but other pictures of him emerged online, a particularly gruesome one of him in Syria with a severed head. Those who knew him, though, believed he died in battle last June. There was a message posted online by a terrorist group, but that had only been done deliberately to conceal his passage back into the UK. Astonishingly, he got his British cousin to drive across Europe to meet him in Bulgaria, to pick him up. They went home. The plan worked until they got to Dover, where they were intercepted by police. And this is what police have had to say today.
So Imran Khawaja is not a vulnerable teenager that has travelled out to Syria and been enticed to travel out to Syria. This is a man who has chosen the path of terrorism, who's chosen to go out to Syria to be trained to engage in a terrorist training camp, and who has then prepared acts of terrorism and has even then concealed his entry back into the UK by faking his own death. This is a man who is a danger to the country, and this prosecution is a great success for us.
We can now report that the 27-year-old admitted 4 charges last month, including the preparation of terrorist acts. He'll be sentenced next month and, of course, faces multiple years in jail.
Julian, thanks very much indeed. Well, Islamic State has threatened to kill 2 Japanese hostages unless a multi-million-dollar ransom is paid. It's believed that Haruna Yakawa is being held along with another hostage in Syria. These pictures show him working as a security guard there before his capture. The Japanese Prime Minister has condemned IS's threat as unacceptable. Still to come on 5 News Tonight. Bye-bye Page 3. We'll be discussing the Sun's great cover-up. See you after the break.
She would cry and cry.
Laura starts stuff 9:15 tomorrow morning here on Channel 5.
Welcome back. You're watching 5 News Tonight. More than 6 months after it was set up, the panel in the child abuse inquiry has been facing questions from MPs. With the Home Secretary still trying to find a suitable person to run it, there have been claims that the whole process is a mess. Our political editor Andy Bell is in Westminster now. So, Andy, why the delay?
Well, Matt, twice the Home Secretary, Theresa May, has put forward a name for someone to chair this inquiry, and each time that person has had to step down after opposition from victims groups, opposition from the media, with people essentially saying, look, this person that you've chosen is too close to the establishment and therefore won't be able to conduct a proper inquiry. Meanwhile, there has been a panel set up, composed mainly of experts, which has been trying to get on and try and at least make a start on the work needed for this inquiry, but there too there's been a certain amount of disarray, as was pointed out by the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, Keith Faz, today, when he put this to someone who's been appointed to give advice to that inquiry while she was giving evidence.
And it all seems rather sad. We have a panel that has no chair, a Home Secretary writing to the existing panel members saying there's a 1 in 3 chance you're going to have to go, consultation meetings being cancelled, and members of the panel thinking that they can't tell the public about process. Is this satisfactory?
No, it's not satisfactory.
Now, we still don't have any official timetable as to when we're going to get a name for the next person who's going to be put forward to try and chair this inquiry. I was speaking to someone from one of the victims' organisations. That person said they'd been told by the Home Office that maybe there would be a phone call next week, so perhaps a name may be put forward next week. Certainly what everyone has agreed on, that we need a chair for this inquiry as quickly as possible if the whole thing is not going to look like a real fiasco.
Andy, thank you very much indeed. The former TV weatherman Fred Talbot has gone on trial accused of historical sex abuse against 5 schoolboys. The 65-year-old is accused of indecently assaulting the boys while in his former career as a teacher in Greater Manchester. He denies all the charges, which date from the late 1960s to the early 1980s. Gordon Ramsay has lost a High Court battle over one of his pubs. The celebrity chef claimed he shouldn't have to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds in rent because his father-in-law forged his signature on the contract. Today, though, a judge ruled that he is liable for it. And a camera has captured the heart-stopping moments a lorry jackknifed on an icy road in America. The footage shows the huge truck swerving across the interstate in New Jersey, narrowly missing the car in front. As you can see, it then ploughs through the central reservation onto the opposite carriageway. Incredibly, there were no major injuries. Remarkable stuff. Now, depending on your view, it was a bit of harmless fun or blatantly sexist. And now it seems the Sun newspaper is dropping topless models from Page 3. There's no official comment yet from the paper, but is this the start of a new era? Tessa Chapman has been having a look.
For decades, Page 3's pictures have made glamour models into household names and made feminists angry. But the famous feature has quietly disappeared. Readers today turned the front page to find women in bikinis. A subtle change, but it seems the usual topless shots have gone for good.
I don't think it's bad at all. I think they should keep it going.
Are you disappointed that...
Yeah, very, very.
I think if you ask any man topless, they're always going to go for topless, but that's just my opinion.
There's been a vocal and long-running campaign for the Sun to cover up. Now those behind it are claiming a victory, but say it doesn't go far enough.
I can't stand here and say, oh, it's brilliant that the Sun have decided to cover up nipples. but they're still going to be showing women in underwear and bikinis. Essentially, The Sun is still choosing to show women as primarily being there to decorate the news.
The No More Page 3 campaign argued the feature was sexist and outdated. Last year, the paper's owner, Rupert Murdoch, said in a tweet he found it old-fashioned. But The Sun has made the change quietly, perhaps not wanting to be seen to be bowing to pressure. And today, Page 3 girls themselves led the backlash against the move.
I have a family and I don't have that newspaper on my breakfast table because it isn't the sort of newspaper that I'd want my 8, nearly 9-year-old reading regardless. So there's choices in life. If you want to have a newspaper where you read solely about news, you don't buy The Sun.
Now will come the test. Will people still buy the paper?
I think the calculation is that if you lose some readers in the course of helping to rehabilitate the company's image post-phone hacking and all the rest of it, that may be a price worth paying. I think they may also reckon they're not going to lose that many. Look at the other difference between 1970 and now is if somebody wants to go and look at bare-chested women, they can go online and find millions of them.
The Sun will still show topless shots online and women on Page 3. The sexism debate is far from over. Tessa Chapman, 5 News.
So joining me now to discuss what looks like the end of Page 3 in the Sun newspaper at least is former model Nicola McLean, who you saw in Tessa's report there, and Pippa Banham from the campaign group No More Page 3. So a victory for you, Pippa?
We are treating it as a victory, yes. Yeah, although some of our critics have said it's just a partial success because the pictures are still going to be there, albeit the models are going to be clothed. And also it has moved online, of course.
Yeah, so page3.com continues. Yeah. And it has to be said, the Daily Star, another red-top tabloid, is continuing with its Page 3. It says it's proud because it brightens the day for readers. So what do you think, Nicola?
Well, obviously, I agree with the Daily Star keeping their Page 3, and I'm glad that they are. I'm sad that the Sun have decided to give in to the critics and get rid of it, and I hope it is just short term. I hope the sales bomb, so they have to put Page 3 back where it belongs.
Well, to be fair, they haven't confirmed or denied whether they're doing it. They said Page 3 will still be there in between pages 2 and 4 tomorrow. Not saying what will be on it, of course. Wouldn't you have got on, though, in your career without it? I mean, there's plenty of other outlets to get topless.
Probably not, actually. When I did it many, many moons ago, it was an amazing way to get a platform to another career. It certainly took me on to be able to do reality TV. That's, you know, that's what happened to me. I can't see another way that that would have happened. That's not why I did it in the first place.
Just being in Essex or being in Chelsea is enough these days. You don't have to go on Page 3 to...
I'm not from Essex or Chelsea, so that's not an option for me. So being a Page 3 girl was, and I was extremely good at it, and I was extremely successful, and I was extremely proud, and it was my choice. And I feel like this whole feminist thing that we're dealing with, surely we're fighting for women to be able to have choice and freedom to do what we want to do. And I wanted to do it, and I know there's hundreds of other glamour models out there today tweeting me saying thank you for coming on and saying my word, because they're devastated that they've lost their job today.
Well, let's put that to Pippa as a good point, isn't it? It's taking away choice for the likes of Nicola and others.
Yeah, well, I find these discussions really interesting because the campaign has never been about bashing the models. You know, we totally respect your career choice, you know, and that's completely up to you. But this issue is more than, you know, a woman's freedom to take her clothes off and be paid for it, you know. It's about a powerful man who is imposing his perceptions of what is sexy on us, you know, in a daily diet, and, you know, we find that unacceptable.
Because Margaret Patterson, sorry Nicola, let me just say on Facebook, says they're all perfect bodies, and I do think it makes women readers a little bit self-conscious and maybe loathing of their own bodies.
Yeah, I think it's disempowering for the majority of women. The Page 3 beauty ideal is, you know, really unachievable for the majority of women.
Not for Nicola.
I disagree with that. I think that actually Page 3 have been extremely clever at putting women of different shapes and sizes on there. I don't think it is just an ideal. I think that actually different magazines, women's magazines, they show a much more unobtainable look than Page 3. I think that can we not you know, look at David Beckham then in his pants, doing his underwear adverts, would
Which
that
is
be
in the
making
papers
us...
today.
Which is in the papers.
But it's not quite the same thing, though, is it? Because,
Well, it is, because
David
he's just in
Beckham's chest is not...
with a tiny pair of pants with his bulge out for me to
but
see.
his actual testicles aren't out, are they?
But, well, they basically are, OK?
Testicles are secondary sex characteristics.
I think technically anything like that is covered up in David Beckham's case. But let's just move it on. I mean, would it have been fair, for example, if The Sun had kept page 7, which did have a hunk on it? Would that have balanced things out in some way, Pippa?
Well, yes, that would have made it more equal in a way. But, you know, we're against objectification full stop. You know, we don't think it's right to objectify a man, really, for that matter.
Graham Gravy on Facebook, don't know if it's his real name, says it's a sad day. Another bit of British identity lost due to weak people. That's something you were saying, Nicola. But surely, in the second decade of the 21st century, this is not the right place to have a topless person.
Why?
Well, why is it the right place to have it in a newspaper?
But why not? Why not? It's, you know, The Sun has always had it, well, for 44 years. It's been perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. If you don't want to read it, don't. I understand people are then going to say, but it's there in front of you. You don't have to read it. If you only want to read the news, buy a broadsheet.
I'm afraid we have to end it there. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, as a war artist, Graham Lothian put his life on the line to capture the danger of battle on canvas. 2 years ago, as he followed British troops in Afghanistan, a Taliban bullet shattered his arm. He was warned that his days as an artist were over, but showing the determination from his own years as a soldier, Graham learnt to paint again, and as Sally Lockwood reports, has now published a collection of his amazing work.
Just moments after Graham Lothian captured this footage, gunfire shattered the calm, and he became the centre of a bloody scene.
In Hollywood, they always obligingly put a gunshot sound in, I think, but in reality, you don't hear any of that. Your arm just goes flying forward.
Graham not only survived the attack, he later depicted the place where he was shot on canvas.
Somewhere over here, there's compounds, and I got shot across here, so I got actually where my finger is. I got shot there. They thought it was funny that I was a soldier and never got shot. I go out with a paintbrush and someone shoots me. So they actually thought that was funny.
After a bullet pierced Graham's painting hand and penetrated his arm, he thought his career as a war artist was over forever.
That's the hottest I've ever painted in there, 48 degrees.
This is him at work in Afghanistan. It's been his life for 30 years.
I'm alive, I have my arm, I can still paint. I mean, my arm's pretty crippled, my fingers don't work, but my forefinger and my thumb works, and that is enough to hold a brush. The Taliban, or whoever shot me, actually did me a favour. I mean, not for tying up my shoelaces and not for doing things because I'm disabled in that respect, but in an art sense, he's made me a better painter, I think.
While his injury has been life-changing, after spending time in hospital in Birmingham with injured troops, Graham regards himself as very lucky.
There's a large chunk of my life which I've lived. When you go to Birmingham, you see soldiers there who have, you know, who didn't stand a chance. They're in vehicles and blown up, you know, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and they don't have any legs. What I've got is a scratch compared to them.
Graham has this footage as a reminder of how quickly everything can change in an instant. He knows he was unlucky to be shot, but very lucky to get away with it. Sally Lockwood, 5 News.
And that is it from us for this evening. Sian has the weather next. Warren is back with updates throughout the evening here on Channel 5. For now, thanks for your company. I'll be back tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.